Standard Time has a fairly robust project resource allocation feature, and so I'm going to take a look at that. The place to find that is in the View menu, and then choose Project Resource Allocation. If you don't know what this means, you might consider looking up one of our other videos, I think entitled Employee Availability. It's a similar topic. It goes into the same dialog box, but approaches it from an availability standpoint. In other words, when are employees available to work on projects? You can find out when they are over-allocated and under-allocated, which is really the subject of resource allocation, but we're going to go into it a little bit deeper here in this video. So let's actually start by clicking on the Project Tasks tab. I'm just looking at one project, so I've got it filtered here. So we're looking at one project. We see a hierarchy of projects. I'm showing, or tasks rather, I'm showing a series of columns here that apply best to the resource allocation. You have the start date, duration, remaining, there's a percent complete. Those are some of the most interesting fields that will be used in the resource allocation window. So let's go ahead and go over there, View, Project Resource Allocation. Let's start with the bar chart or column chart that you see here. The blue bands or blue columns that you see here represent tasks that are correctly allocated. You see when I browse my mouse over it, you see the actual tasks that comprise those bars. The yellow bars represent periods in which the person is underallocated, meaning they don't have enough work. The red bars indicate overallocation. Again, browse my mouse over it, you see the projects and tasks that comprise the bar. So as you look out over the coming months, you can see that the first 4 months are fairly close, closely allocated correctly, but then things drop off out toward the end here. So this will be a case where project managers would want to try to fill up these bars, get work for the employees. The jagged black line here simply indicates the number of normal hours in that period. You also see bars out at the beginning maybe. Those would indicate that tasks might be scheduled to start before the beginning of this chart. If they're scheduled to start before today, you might consider looking into that. There's another bar out here maybe for after this chart. So that's just simply going out into the future. Let's take a look at some of the controls up here. The first thing you can do is choose an employee from the list, or you can choose an entire group of employees. You can also look at things by skill. If I looked at just the engineer 2 people, you would see how they were allocated. Marketing, you can go through the list of employee skills and find how employees are allocated based on their skill. Coming back to the employee, here is just looking at one single employee. Over in the project, you can choose all projects, or you can pick a single project to see how that employee is allocated for that project. When you click these little icons up here, it allows you to see the projects broken down into folders. So you can choose a single folder and get all of the projects inside that folder, or click on this icon and you can choose an entire portfolio of projects. So you see all the projects in the portfolio. Let's go back to the flat list. You just see all of the projects in the flat list. When you look at View Hours, another interesting drop down, you see the ability to choose a grid, both in task and resource hierarchy. This is essentially the same information that we're seeing in the bar chart below, except that it's in textual form. So when we pick that, you see a grid that shows up below here, and the hours that you're seeing here are the same hours that make up that bar chart. You could copy this, put it into Excel if you wanted to. They're broken down by project and then task. So this is a task hierarchy. if I picked the task grid resource hierarchy, then you see them broken down by resource. So you see the company, and then groups, and then the people underneath that. In this case, we're filtering by just one user, so we're seeing just that one user. So these are some of the modes that you can choose for the resource allocation dialog to see when people are allocated to work. Again, this is very similar to what we talked about earlier on the employee availability. It turns out we have an availability chart, which is essentially the inverse of the allocation chart. It simply shows when people are available to work. So when we pick that, the bars sort of flip over and you see yellow bars indicating that they have some time available, but these blue bars would indicate that they have full time available. Switch back to the bar chart, resource allocation, you look back at these months at the end of the chart and you see that they are not allocated during those times. So that would be the meaning of that. So this resource allocation window really lets you look out into the future and see when your people are scheduled to work, and it's all based on the starting and due dates of tasks and then the remaining hours left in those tasks.